testing all the things, putting out small, even if it's a couple $100, couple $1,000, test different networks, test top of funnel, test bottom of funnel. You just have to test relentlessly, push new creative out. Sometimes it's your creative that stinks, and that's what messed something up or didn't get you the ROI that you were looking for from a campaign. But you just always have to be trying something. You always got to be pushing forward and just be willing to whiff and fail.
Welcome to How I Grew This, where we dive into the world of digital marketing and connect with leaders in the space about how they're scaling, evolving, and growing. Hello, everyone, and welcome to How I Grew This. We are really excited about our guest today, Jason White. Welcome. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Really great. Thank you. We have Adam on the line as well.
Hi, everyone.
Awesome. So Jason, why don't you take a moment just to introduce yourself before we get started?
Sure. I am Jason White, and I'm head of acquisition at Policygenius, which is a subsidiary of Zinnia. We help people buy and place life insurance, home, auto, and disability insurance. I think we sell some other stuff as well in unique products. And really excited to be here today, talk about marketing, talk about AI, talk about how I grew it. Before I get started, I do have a little bit of a legal terms and conditions that I need to check. So I want to make clear I'm speaking solely in my personal capacity today. The opinions and views I'll share are entirely my own and do not represent or reflect the official stance of my employer. End quote. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, so your role today is head of acquisition, but you spent most of your career as an SEO expert, search engine optimization. Probably most people, our listeners, are going to know what that means. I want to ask, how do you find yourself? How do you find your way? How do you become a search engine optimizer expert? How did you get into it?
I think it was accidentally, like a lot of people. I don't think I've ever really felt like an expert or been an expert. I think it's been more like curiosity. And I think that kind of really goes back to how I got into search engine optimization and just search marketing. I was working at a bike shop in Boston, and it was like January. It was snowy. I needed to make rent, and eBay was a thing. And I started selling all the excess inventory they had on eBay. And after getting in trouble for a little bit for wasting time on the computer, they saw what I sold, and they were like, "Hey, keep doing whatever it is you're doing on the computer." And I discovered all these acronyms, and I discovered this whole industry behind some of the stuff. I discovered some of the stuff I was doing was a little shady, like white text on backgrounds and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, early eBay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it works back then. And so it just kind of always followed my curiosity and trying to understand how things worked and how I can make more out of whatever the action was. And SEO just kind of pulled me along.
So to be clear, this isn't a bike manufacturer where you work in marketing. This was a local neighborhood bike shop.
Yeah, they were high-end bicycle shop. We sold bikes and frames that were 10K or up, which back then, this is 20 years ago. So back then that was it's a lot of money now, but it was a lot then too. But it was kind of a dream job because they had brands and things that you just couldn't get anywhere else in the world. And so it was a real destination. People would come there. They would get fitting. It was we offered them all kinds of service. The owner's dad he trued wheels. He used to deliver ice. They were from Turkey originally, and he delivered ice and milk back in the homeland. And when they immigrated here, he started building wheels. And so he would come in and this 90-year-old guy would be building wheels in the basement and stuff like that. It was awesome. It was really cool. Exposed me to so many different things. Just being able to sell things, sell high-end equipment or just cheap $200 bikes to college kids. But it was a really wonderful experience. But yeah, ATA Cycle, they're still around.
So local bike shop, you start doing effectively, which is early search on eBay, selling this good. Then what? Do you go to a bigger bike shop?
I got into local search a little bit, and my wife was looking to become an occupational therapist. And there's only a couple of programs that do that. And so we moved from Boston to upstate New York, and I got into selling Segways and Rascal scooters and stair lifts, did mobile marketing events and different wild things with the Segways. Also worked as a jack of all trades patch company, embroider patches Boy Scouts, bikers, firemen, police. And that was a really rewarding and interesting experience because I got to do social media marketing, CRM, paid SEO content marketing. They had like 30 something domains at the time. And so I got to experiment a lot, and different websites would pop up based off of those experiments, or I would totally nuke a website based off of those experiments. But it really afforded me like a lot of opportunity to learn and problem solve and really like understand how businesses work and how to get them to work better.
And then your resume says you went to the agency side. So how was it? How did you end up on the agency side from the product side?
I really appreciated the relationships I was able to build when I was selling the Segways and the Rascal scooters. It wasn't Rascal, it was a different brand, but everybody understands Rascal. I really kind of like missed that. And I wanted to broaden my exposure to marketing. I thought like an agency was the best way to get reps and to get that. And at the time, I thought SEO was a bit of snake oil. And I was really trying to target a position on a paid team of some sort because I thought that was a lot more exciting. And so I targeted this agency in upstate New York. They were Dragon Search at the time. I think they're Dragon 360 now. And I wasn't able to get an interview with the lead paid guy. And so I started building a relationship with the CEO on Twitter. And just like over the course of like 2 or 3 months, just kind of like passing banter back and forth. And they had posted a position for SEO, and I got the interview. And I basically told the CEO like what I did. And then I was like stalking him on Twitter and like set up alerts and stuff like that. And he like got so excited, he ran out of the room and came right back in with an offer letter. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. And so
That's so cool.
Stalking works.
it does. It does. And like that really ignited my career. I had a lot of opportunities to like, I met different editors and stuff like Search Engine Journal. And there were different opportunities that were afforded to me where like, if I had an article that was submitted by 8 a.m. the next day, I'd get it published. And so I'd pull an all-nighter, I'd write the article, I'd get myself like the byline. And that really grew into speaking engagements and like being able to speak at Search Engine Land events all over the country. I went to Italy on a speaking event, which was really cool. I got to ride my bike in the Dolomites in the Alps, which was wild and amazing. And so like, it's wild, like where SEO has taken me and just kind of like leaning in and going after whatever door is opened or cracked open a little bit.
So I want to get into this passion for cycling that is coming through here. You know, you mentioned that the bike shop was a dream role, got to bike in the Dolomites. So tell me a little bit about that and the correlation between cycling and your job, running a campaign.
Yeah, I've raced bikes since I was like 13 or 14, and I've done it in college. I've done it like as an adult. I continue to do it today and absolutely love it. And I see a lot of like parallels between like trying to achieve your goals in the sporting realm as well as trying to achieve your goals in like the business realm. And so I jump to queue a lot. I can like see like what the problem is and like understand what the solution is. And I feel like, you know, if you're going to target a key race in the year, maybe you want to do really well on the international stage, you want to do well at nationals, or there's something that's like in your backyard that you're training hard for, you always start with the goal, and that helps you understand, okay, this is the types of training I need to be doing to get ready for that goal. This is kind of like the timelines that I need to be, you know, achieving these different things, the workouts I need to be doing. Maybe there's some like, you know, skill work that you need to be doing and building in as well. And I think that that's largely the same with like a campaign. I know when I'm going to launch something, or theoretically when it's going to launch, and I can then backfill in all the pieces that it's going to take to build that campaign. Who are the stakeholders? What kind of creative do we need? What type of content or copy do we need? Is this a new initiative? Do we need some new pixels? Do we need some like web development? And then like you have your whole campaign based off of just like starting with the goal. So I've kind of like always felt like they've parlayed very nicely together, like played well together.
I love that analogy. And you mentioned that you do have a lot more time for that passion now too in your current role. So talking about your resume a little more, you directed SEO for Hertz, went to PMG and directed it there. Now you're at Zinnia and your scope has widened beyond SEO. So how has your perspective on acquisition evolved as you moved through these experiences and roles?
It changed a lot, and I definitely don't want to sound jaded. I've sold a lot of things in for Google. SEO has been like a very difficult just like practice. And then you get like a corporate environment or something like that, and pushing through different initiatives can be very, very difficult. And sometimes you're doing Google's bidding, and Google has not stood up or upheld their end of the bargain. A lot of publishers have lost a boatload of traffic over the last 5 years. And it's hard to make good business decisions when you've lost 80, 90% of your website traffic. And so my role to acquisition has really kind of pivoted my view in marketing, in that you really need to make sure that you have a good mix and that you don't have any of your eggs in any one particular basket. And you also need to constantly be prospecting and figuring out what's the new and what's going to get you new leads or sell the product that you're looking for. And so I really have been looking at it a lot more as like an investment portfolio and understanding where I can place my safest bets to get the best returns and kind of like building out acquisition from that standpoint a little bit more. So it's been nice in that I used to focus on one thing that had a lot of really weird details and a lot of really weird skills that you would need to accomplish it. And have kind of like gone wide and can look at the whole game board now.
So yeah, and I mean, themes of experimentation are shining through from your early days. But when you say the safe bets, are those consistent across the board, or like, are there any to share that you feel are safe bets, or does it just depend?
I think it depends. It depends on your product. It depends on like the network for sure. Google is really difficult to this day. AIOs, any of the AI stuff that's coming from Google is opaque. You're not able to understand like how this is really affecting your strategy. You can just see the costs are going up, your traffic is going down, lead quality might not be that great. Like when I get an AIO, it doesn't always result in good business. And so like maybe they're not something that's really great to target. We also have like ChatGPT. I see all kinds of traffic coming from other AI networks and channels. It's wild. It's always been a wild game. But how much it changes has not let up at all.
We could spend probably the rest of the time talking about the changes. I want to go back to, because I really love when I talk to someone to spend as much time with big brands and agencies as you have, because I feel like if you're in an agency and you spend time with the bigger companies, you have these really good takeaways when working with large brands. You've worked with a lot of them, you worked for them. What are some of the things you'd say that a large brand does right? And then conversely, what is something that a large brand often does wrong when approaching classic SEO?
I feel like every corporation, business, place that I work for, there's a couple of people that are holding up millions of dollars worth of value.
Holding up as in holding back on, or?
Yeah, and they might not necessarily know it, but they're like a blocker to unlocking the brand's potential, a brand's revenue. And they might not even know it, but like fiefdoms are absolutely a thing. And it's frustrating. And I think that like a lot of brands don't get prioritization right. I understand that like resources are finite and we need to be very like exacting with what we're actually doing with website development or just moving a brand forward. But like prioritization is broken. I don't think that there's like great systems in any brand that I've worked with where things are getting prioritized effectively or like in a way that actually drives revenue. I think what brands do well is just the scale that they operate at really matters to your success. And so being able to leverage that scale is key, and understanding like all the things that are happening within a brand definitely, and like understanding how you can like barnacle the different things that are happening, whether it's like a PR push or a new product that's coming out, change in the marketplace and stuff like that. Being able to just like stay agile and adapt to all that stuff is kind of key.
So to read that back to you, you're saying that the bad thing is politics and the good thing is just the scale allows a lot more kind of groundswell.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To really kind of drive home the first point, hypothetical or otherwise, you have an example that would like suggest kind of what you're talking about. Is it like there's a product name that you could change to get better results, or like what would be an example of a blocker of millions of dollars?
So I pitched a major like faucets brand a bunch of years ago. And we went through a couple of different layers. It's a pitch process. Pitching is so much fun. I love it so much. We got to like the development. It's just awesome. You just get in the room. It's magic. It's just like it's live, man. It's live.
A positive spin. I like it.
Yeah, I would pitch all the time. I mean, there's definitely things I don't like making slides at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning for the next day. And like that just-in-time delivery is not my favorite, but pitching, I would do it all the time. So we pitched this big major brand. We got through all these layers. We got to the development layer and we're talking to the development team. And the lead developer, she had printed out an 80-page website audit. And she said, we had this audit done 5 years ago. And the things that you are outlining are exactly the same things that are in this audit. And she's shaking it. It's 80 pages. She printed it out. It must have been heavy because it made a noise. It had a like sound. And she's like, what new things are you going to bring that we don't already know about? And I asked, what have you implemented from that original audit? Nothing.
Silence.
Yes.
Right. So they knew what to do and no one did it.
Right. And like, that's where the prioritization thing comes into play. Like it's your ability to get things done, your ability to like convince other people around you to do the thing you need to do is how you live or die. And like a website audit or something big like that, if you're not able to implement it and implement it in an efficient way, you're dead if you're on the agency side. Like there's just no way that you're going to be able to show growth or show why you deserve your seat at the table, why you deserve your line item on their P&L.
So speaking of show progress, you'd mentioned AIO earlier, and that's an acronym, Artificial Intelligence Optimization, I'm assuming. It's kind of like this is, at the time of this publication, people are hotly arguing whether it's going to be GEO or AIO or whatever. Anyway, it's SEO. One of the reasons I'm excited to talk to you is because the world of search is changing. If you look at search today, what's new? What's give a run of the environment for the layman or woman?
Nobody is satisfied with their search engine results. And so we are all seeking out answers in different places. AI is getting blanketed on everything, and users don't necessarily love that AI is getting blanketed on everything. I think that we've been in this ship for 2 years. I think we have like 3 more years ahead of us before some big thing or some big shift or Perplexity offered how many billions of dollars for Google Chrome? Things like that are going to kind of move the market. And so like we still are living this for a little while, I think.
And so numbers going up, numbers are going down. Search numbers are going down, published everywhere.
Everything feels broken. It feels like you're like in a, flying the plane and all your instruments are running different ways and like the stick is shaking really hard. But like, hey, you're going to land it. It's going to happen. We're still flying. We got some damage and stuff like that. But like none of this makes sense. It's very tough to stay on top of the data. Attribution is wildly broken. It's a wild west.
Someone told me the other day, actually an agency said, the funnel seems to be broken in the top, but the leads that come through are way higher intent. Conversions are around the same.
I would agree with that. Yeah. The value of the conversions that we're getting are a lot higher, but there's less of them.
So I'm curious, do you feel like this is kind of a limbo state right now that we're in?
No, I feel like that's a land grab opportunity.
Okay.
Like who's going to do the most testing and figure out how to make it work for themselves.
So you mentioned that people aren't thrilled that AI is getting layered on top of things. Do you mean end users or what are you referencing there?
Yeah, I mean end users. Yeah, I hear it like all the time from friends, family. I see it all the time on Instagram, Meta, even like New York Times and things like that. I've seen some articles that have been very interesting, but the AI layer that's getting added to a lot of things isn't additive value. It's marketing. It's slapping AI on something because it's trendy and hip and cool, but it's not actually improving the experience for the user whatsoever. And I feel like it's really causing like a lot of brands to lose trust with users because it cheapens their product.
Interesting. But you did mention how, you're bringing ChatGPT and AIO into your process. So can you talk to me about how you're thinking about visibility and discovery in this world, separate from the fact that it's not being executed in the best of ways in some product experiences?
Yeah, I think that just because like AI is adding a new like layer or nuance to everything, that's where the opportunity is. And that's kind of like where that land grab piece comes into, because it comes a lot cheaper and easier to launch a lot of different tests. And as this media market and landscape is moving around, you need to figure out and understand like where are the hot spots if you're like fishing, like where are the fish biting? And I think that like it just gives you a lot of flexibility to kind of like figure out new watering holes and new places to find your fish or your users in this case.
Watering holes that are a little bit harder to measure? Or are you finding your way?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, like attribution is a disaster. So directionally is you kind of just have to have a lot of trust. You have a lot of faith that like the things that you're doing are working and your share of voice is probably higher. Your, impression share is probably a lot higher. But as long as you're seeing people move through your funnel and at the right gates and checkpoints, you know that like directionally the whole thing should be working pretty well.
You mentioned attribution, and when we first met, you dropped a hint that I kind of lit on and started doing research. Can you share a little bit about how you're measuring the LLM outputs?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways. I haven't seen a good analytics tool yet. Rest in peace, my LinkedIn inbox after this. But like, they're not great from what I've seen. I have a couple of different dashboards that I've used from other companies. I think Sear Interactive out of Philly has some like really great AI content and search and how to get yourself indexed. And the dashboards are nice. GA4 gives you some things, but like the whole Google AI ecosystem, you can't pull any data out of it really. And so your server logs are going to be your most accurate point of truth. Anything that pings for your website is going to be recorded on that log file. And so analyzing and understanding what bots are coming and how often they're coming and what pieces of content they're consuming matter a lot. And in the case of AI, it's going to be the most accurate source for understanding what kind of visibility you might be getting on a ChatGPT, what kind of traffic you might be getting from Perplexity or something like that. And even if like you're selling products on ChatGPT, which some brands are able to do right now.
So just to highlight that, you're saying that ChatGPT will ping your website to include a search. And that's why I went off and looked at was when it trains, that's like once every year or 2 years or something. But it has a bot, ChatGPT bot.
Yeah, there's 4 bots. And one of them is the LLM training bot. And you can see that come to your website multiple times a day or multiple times a week and pull down some pretty big log files, pretty big like amounts of requests and training data and things that it's analyzing. But then there's just a regular like ChatGPT bot too. And there's a couple of different versions of that I've seen. So there's actually like a lot more than 4. And then they have like a weird like ads product bot, I think too. But there's a total of 4. You can Google it and like find all the ChatGPT bots and kind of understand what they do. But the LLM is much different than the GPT bot. And you kind of want to understand how often the LLM is consuming your content and your data, and if you're efficiently giving it the right information. And then that GPT bot is kind of going to be a little bit more of like an analytics goose, perhaps, where it could be a share of voice metric that you kind of make up, but it's better than anything else that's out there. You could kind of use it as a compression share. You could also understand what kind of pages are being used to give the answer. A lot of times we'll see that there's like 4 or 5 pages that get referenced in one answer. And so that makes that content really, really important. A lot of people have already made this content investment. And so you can make really good decisions on how to better utilize your content based off of what you're seeing in the answers and how ChatGPT is pinging your server logs.
Any high-level tips for the audience? Like you said, efficiently deliver the information to the LLMs. Like, is that page speed?
No. Yeah, I mean, it's experimenting with indexation. And so you want to have cleanly sitemaps, like what's old is new again. And I think that a lot of the people that are claiming to be AI experts in indexation and stuff like that are really recommending the white text that I started on eBay years ago is like
coming back.
Yeah, I mean, people are like kind of gaming the system to the point where ChatGPT is producing spam reports on how they're combating spam, which is interesting as heck to read and consume.
Wow, already.
But I think that like clean indexation is really where it's at, and like sitemaps and making sure that you are giving them clean data. You're not giving them guesswork. You're not making them bounce around and find the things that they're looking for, understanding what type of questions people might be asking behind the pages that get referenced and shown, and formatting your pages in that way, I think are really important. I also think that there's like a lot of off-page metrics that are important to getting inclusion too. If you are a brand and you're doing research on how to increase your visibility, start asking ChatGPT about your brand. Why do you recommend other people's brands for that particular product versus mine? You might get good insights that Google reviews matter or Trustpilot reviews might matter.
Or maybe you're not even saying the right things about what your specific product does in the description, just not hitting on those things.
Exactly. And like the robot is going to kick it back and tell you what it finds to be the most credible sources of information. And so you know that you need to then like be better on Wikipedia or improve your Trustpilot or whatever the metric is that seems to matter behind that product. It's different from brand to brand from what I've seen and industry to industry. But yeah, I mean, ChatGPT will tell you.
Yeah, you just go directly to the source. I love that advice. And it sounds like in terms of how you're approaching ChatGPT now and like AIO and all of it, it seems like you have some pretty advanced techniques of even getting these signals. But kind of zooming out a little bit for marketers that aren't as in the weeds on some of this, thinking about the fact that things are changing rapidly and no one really knows where things are going. What do you think marketers can rely on right now?
Their own intuition.
Look within.
Yeah, I mean, the things that they want to experiment with, just getting comfortable in understanding how the AI bots work, how they index things, how they serve up information, how it all changes. I think that like it is just kind of back to basics and like kind of figuring out what are the ground rules and things that matter to you. It's incredibly rational. Marketing has always been incredibly rational. SEO has always been a rational practice. And this AI frontier or whatever we want to label it, it's just as rational. It's just as much of a step-by-step process as anything else has been.
So I love what you said there about how it's always been a certain way. I want to hear if you have any early lessons of marketing that feel just as relevant now. Like what's true about marketing today that has always been true? We're talking about all the changes, but what is like still core and true in the basics that you're referencing? Like, are we talking Mad Men days?
Yeah, I mean, usability matters. Usability has always mattered. I think that like good copy, good headlines, things that are going to like pull users in that are not clickbaity definitely still resonate and matter. And like kind of, you don't have a lot of character space in a lot of these places to be able to like encourage the user to click or encourage the user to do whatever it is that they're doing. And so being able to nudge and kind of like carry the user down a good experience really matters. And I think like kind of just being self-reflective on what you appreciate, how you like to be sold and how what you kind of like deem as a good experience or a bad experience, and then making it apply to your marketing definitely still matters. Like the ground rules still matter. The Mad Men stuff still resonates. You need to make them feel. And if they're feeling, that's, really the goal behind marketing. And that's what's happening. We're doing a good job.
Yeah. Do good marketing. Focus on making them feel. Like, don't forget you're in the midst of all these crazy, hectic changes going on.
It's still like, just do real stuff. Will Reynolds is like I don't know if he's still CEO of Sear Internet. I'm going to like sell them all kinds. I've never worked with Sear before. They've like poached people from my team and things like that. But Will Reynolds used to have this thing of doing real company shit. And like SEO classically has just focused on all these weird tactics, all these things that like work for some people and not other people. You mentioned page load speed. I've gone down that rabbit hole so many times and it's blown up in my face and not worked. And then I lost all credibility with the dev team. I lost all credibility with that brand because the page speed did not result in better conversion. I have seen page load speed work for some people. Everybody sees those graphs on LinkedIn and kind of like how we give ourselves gold stars and put things on the refrigerator, but it doesn't necessarily work across all brands. And you kind of have to have like your own flavor, and like what's going to work and what's not going to work, or be willing to kind of like go back into that toolbox.
Sounds like more of an art than a science in that case.
There's a nuance to it all. It's weird. It's always been a weird, like kind of like dark art, so to speak.
Advertising kind of, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're of the mindset.
What's the 50% of your advertising that's not working? Like we have all this digital data now. We act like it's 100% true and accurate, but it's just the same as it was back in the day. We don't have any idea.
And it sounds like you're of the mindset, spend your time on what really matters, not the latest fad or, the latest metric that can game the system, because that'll come back to bite you.
1,000%. Yeah. I mean, how can you adapt some of these things that are being reported as spam from ChatGPT? How can you adapt that and make that like a white hat tactic or like a cleaner, better for users type of tactic?
You mentioned the word land grab earlier, and I've been like waiting to jump back on this. This changing market, it's a land grab. Things are changing right now. What would you say marketers, what should they be doing to approach these changes? Like concrete examples of what they should be doing.
Testing all the things, putting out small, even if it's a couple $100, a couple $1,000, test different networks, test top of funnel, test bottom of funnel. You just have to test, relentlessly test. Push new creative out. Sometimes it's your creative that stinks and that's what messed something up or didn't get you the ROI that you were looking for from a campaign. But you just always have to be trying something. You always got to be pushing forward and just be willing to like whiff and fail.
So keep trying, keep experimenting, keep measuring. That's, I guess, a pretty good playbook, and that's been true in marketing for a long, long time. I want to ask a more personal question, which is, you're a father, you're an avid cyclist, you have a life outside of work. There's a lot to keep up on. How do you personally keep up with the changing market? Like, what are your personal go-tos to stay on top of things?
Probably my network is the most of just like talking to different people and being like, hey, what are you seeing? What's happening with you? I think that like always tapping into your network has been like the strongest source of reliable information. I certainly love reading the propaganda I read on LinkedIn. There's some truth to it. There's some guys that just are not like thinking straight, I feel. But like it could give you some good wild ideas that are just out there. But I think that I consume from a wide sources. Like if I said newsletter, I wouldn't be able to tell you what newsletter. I subscribe to probably like 8 of them. I don't read them all religiously. It kind of comes down to like what I can get in front of myself. As I've transitioned more into like this acquisition role, I've been doing a lot of deep dives on some of the new channels that I've been pushing into. Like I have a lot of experience with different channels. Being at like a big agency is super beneficial in understanding how a lot of different things work. But I just was lacking like the nuance of programmatic and how do I make sure that I got my KPIs set up so they are measured effectively, but also like programmatic is going to give you different KPIs than others. So, like what are those blind spots and just trying to understand that. So I call him my bestie and ChatGPT calls me big fella. I told ChatGPT to call me big fella. I mean, if it's going to take my job, it might as well inflate my ego a little bit along the way. But I also read that you get better answers out of ChatGPT if you're kind and nice to it. And so that's why I call it my bestie. And so I will start my prompts like, hey, bestie, this is what we're doing. Like, this is, da, da, da. And it's like, sure, you got it, big fella. And I feel like I'm off to the races and like the robot makes me feel good. But I do a lot of just ChatGPTing, like earnings calls of competitors or just like anybody in the marketplace. Like I want to understand like what cost of acquisition is doing. And so like I've just been leveraging ChatGPT a lot more to give me succinct summaries, to give me like, I want all this information, but I just need it bite-sized. Podcasts, always good.
Not this one. Everyone listen in real time. Wait, so I want to just double click on that because you've talked about a lot of great resources and how you stay on top of things. Any other like books or tools or approaches that you want to hit on before we wrap up?
Yeah, you talked about like the Mad Men from before.
Oh, yeah.
And like Confessions of an Advertising Man, it still holds true. So like that's David Ogilvy book. And I would totally like, that's where I would start and still good marketing. He's got like supremely outdated misogynistic views. But if we can get through that, the basis and underlying of what he's talking about from marketing, it still applies today, especially with like copywriting, headline writing, the ability to test, the ability to measure. All that stuff proves true 70, 60 years later, something like that.
Wow. Yeah. And for those just listening, he did pull this book out from his shelf and had it handy. So this is clearly something that you are practicing what you preach here.
Yeah. I have bike books, business books, and plant books. So that's a good, this is my bookshelf.
The big 3.
Yeah.
So besides that book, in closing, I heard this question I really like. I think Amanda asked it in the last one of these we did. If you could give yourself advice in the very beginning of your career, go back in time, give yourself a short piece of advice, what advice would that be?
Safety third. Just do the thing. Like push, experiment, be risky, be willing to test, ask for forgiveness later in some cases. But yeah, safety third.
Safety third. I've never heard that one before, but that's good. That's true.
Yeah, you have some good things.
You do.
It's a Daniel Ricciardo Formula One. So you want to be fast, you want to be smooth, and like safety's third. But I think it applies. You got to be willing to take big swings. You got to be willing to send it. And like sometimes you're going to crash hard and sometimes you're going to drive a lot of leads.
Man, he's a likable guy. And as are you. Thank you.
Jason, thanks for your time. This was fascinating and very helpful, I think.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
I love this conversation. Thanks so much for being with us. And thanks to our listeners for tuning in.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, please leave a review wherever you listen to this and share with someone trying to grow their career or their business. Until next time, keep growing.